I'm Jay Urish. Join me as I complete flight school and enter the fun and adventure-filled world of general aviation.
Good morning, YouTube. Wolf Pilot here, sitting in the conference room of Monarch Air. This is the big day. Chris Webb is coming, and he's going to play a game with me called Stump the Chump. I stole that from Joe Casey, I think, but whatever. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. Sitting in the conference room, got tabbed logbook, brief book, flip the iPad on later. That's where FAR aim and all that stuff is tabbed and all set up in the under ForeFlight. You know, even study guides are great reference manuals. This test is supposed to be open book. So you got the checklist. If the weather holds, or if this gusty stuff stops, we'll be flying 722 Mike Alpha. Got to have the service records, indicate when all the stuff was done. It's tabbed with the most important stuff: ELT, transponder, annual, 100-hour, all that stuff. So I'm significantly early. Checkride starts at 1 p.m. We'll see what happens. I'm wearing my lucky Mentor Pilot positive attitude t-shirt. It should convey some positive attitude, positive vibes. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I have a bright and sunshiny story to tell everybody here in the next take. Stay tuned.
Much later.
All right, YouTube. If I get my phone here situated in my hand where it actually shoots a decent picture. So follow up to the first video, which I should have made the final conclusion video that same day, which would have been July the 30th, when I took my check ride and I busted. So this is not going to go down as a dramatic failure. I passed my oral examination. I even brought up some interesting points to talk about that my DPE, Chris Webb, did not think about. So I got a few brownie points out of that deal. But let's talk about where I went wrong. So after I got done with the oral examination, I checked the weather. And already knew it was hot outside. It was 98, 99 degrees. That's not the end of the world. However, the winds were absolutely ridiculous. I think the METAR at Addison was maybe 12 gusting 24 knots from, I don't know, 120 or something. As a crosswind from hell across the runway. Decided to fly anyway. I had a bad case of get there-itis. I wanted to get completed with this. I was totally confident of my airmanship. And I still am. Jeff Wallach, my CFI, has no complaints about my airmanship. I can fly the airplane. So where I went wrong was it was too hot and the winds were too gusty. I had not firmly established my personal minimums. If you're an up-and-coming pilot, if you're in flight school, make sure you start thinking about this right off the bat, where you feel comfortable flying that airplane. So Chris Webb and I took off. I did the pre-flight with him on November 722 Mike Alpha, a plane, incidentally, I had never flown before. And yes, it was a 172 SP, a Skyhawk, but they all fly a little bit differently. They're all just a few pounds heavier here and there than, say, another airplane. Did the pre-flight. By the time the pre-flight was done, I was sweating. It was running down my back. I was probably should have discontinued at that point. I pushed forward, trying to be a stormtrooper. So I get on the radio, get my clearance from Addison ground. After getting the weather, whatever, we get taxi clearance, taxi down to the run-up area, do my run-up, and we sit there. And we sit there. And we sit there. Maybe 10, 15 minutes. It was pretty busy, actually. It's hot. Very, very hot. So Chris directs me for the after I get my takeoff clearance. Actually, before we'd already pre-briefed, we're going to do a soft field takeoff. Okay, flaps 10. You take off. You have a little pullback. Get some elevator. So when you before you even hit V2 and start your rotation, you're already off. The plane's already lifting off the ground. I had the trim wheel set where I thought it needed to be, where it'd be if I was flying 190 Mike Echo. It's supposed to be set on the E, little mark on the E under trim. And so took off, and 722 jumps up in the air. I mean, I didn't get in ground effect. I blasted probably 80 feet above that before I arrested the climb and leveled off, which is what you're supposed to do in a soft field. You pop it up, you get the plane off the ground, and then you level back out, stay in ground effect till you build up your airspeed, then you take off. So I did that. That didn't go as hot. It was ugly, but I did it. I mean, I demonstrated the fact that I know you take off and you level out in ground effect, and you go till you fly until you get up to 75 knots, then you pitch up for your standard takeoff. So I did that, got up, and I mean, right off the bat, I'm being tossed around like a garden salad. We were supposed to take off towards McKinney, and so I flew to McKinney. I was already overheated. There's a little, as you're flying, it'd be over here on my side, blowing on your left side of your head if you're riding left seat. It was like a hairdryer. I'm sure that air was 110 degrees, blasting on me, cooking my cranium. Very quickly, I was behind the airplane. I was no longer 45 seconds ahead of that airplane. Not at all. I failed to adequately prepare for the airspace I was going into. I did not have my ATIS set in the radio. I did not have McKinney Tower set in the radio. So we're flying. I'm doing everything I can to stay at or below 2,000. I'm hitting thermals. I'm rocking. I'm rolling. This ordinarily would not faze me. I become focused. I develop a form of tunnel vision, and before I know it, I'm not 10 miles outside of McKinney's airspace. I'm 8 miles. Oh crap! I'm behind the 8 ball. So I start looking down at my knee board, punch in a frequency. Oh, I'm talk to tower. Boom, hit flop over, and the weather. Blah blah blah. Oh crap! I'm on ATIS. Double check my frequency. That's why I'm on the wrong one. I looked too far on my list. Change the frequency, flop it over. By this time, I'm 5 miles, 6 miles from McKinney Airport. Before I can hit the red button on the yoke to announce where I'm at, 722 Mike Alpha, McKinney Tower, are you on the radio? 722 Mike Alpha, go ahead. Sir, what are you doing? You need to be calling us 10 miles out before you come into the airspace. Please copy down a phone number for a possible pilot deviation. I'm thinking to myself, way to go, Wolf Pilot. You're the winner. You're not even 8 minutes into your check ride, and you've already screwed the pooch. All right, go ahead, McKinney Tower. Pop out my pen, jaddle on my knee pad, copy down the number. I'm really sorry. I'm having some problems up here. I'll give you a call and I'll land. And about this time, Chris says, or maybe it's a little bit before. Jay, go ahead and turn 120.
425, fly runway heading. Runway heading, 425. 722 Mike Alpha, McKinney Tower.
Cessna 722 Mike Alpha.
Cessna 2 Mike Alpha, you're inside McKinney Class Delta airspace, say intentions.
Give me just a minute here if you would. 722 Mike Alpha. Tower 2 Mike Alpha, we're heading out to the east, forget now.
Cessna 2 Mike Alpha, well you know you're supposed to have two-way radio communication before entering the Class Delta airspace, correct?
I apologize for that, I'm a little bit late getting the radio dialed in.
So it's 425, fly westbound now. You can head start on course Addison.
Westbound Addison, 425.
So it's 2 Mike Alpha, we've got a possible pilot deviation, and I have a phone number for you to copy whenever you're ready.
Go ahead with the number.
So it's 2 Mike Alpha, it's going to be 972-562-7952.
Copy that, 722 Mike Alpha, sorry.
That's 425, contact departure 124.3, have a good day.
Well, maybe it's a little bit before. Jay, go ahead and turn 120. So right off the bat, boom, I'm turning 120. Come to find out after the fact, Chris is watching on the MFD, so he sees me coming close to the Class Delta, which 4 miles, by the way, 4 miles for you student pilots for KTKI airspace. The D aerodrome is 4 miles, 4 mile circumference. I got within maybe half a mile. And you talk about the skin on my teeth. So we turn, and so we go off and decide to go ahead and attempt some maneuvers. He gave me, in all deference, he gave me an option once again to discontinue. I collected my thoughts. I said, no, let's push through this and let's see if we can't get some stuff done. I should have said, turned right around, went right back home, is what I should have done. So went up, and first we did some slow flight. Then we went and did a power off stall. Then recovered from that, turned around and climbed up to 3,500 and attempted to do I think we did a 45-degree banks. So I did the bank to the right, and the bank to the right went pretty well. I didn't lose any altitude. I had the right angle. Came around. I think I even bumped into my own prop turbulence. Turned around, flipped, went left. The nose went down. I was not trimmed up appropriately, or I was something to do with the wind, because I wasn't thinking clearly at that point anymore. I was pretty much down the tubes. So we came back around to that, got done with that. Well, let's do a power on stall. Okay, so I configured to do the power on stall, slowed down, put in the flaps, powered back in, pulled up into a climb, full power, climbing. The nose of the airplane kept, and I'm sitting there trying to hold it with the rudders. I couldn't hold it with the rudders. I wasn't pointed into the wind. Another excellent failure. And the brake was dirty, and I overemphasized the nose down transition to maintain. You dip down a little bit below the level of flight, get your airspeed back up, and when the numbers look right, you start retracting your flaps. And about that time, Chris's words to me were, it just would be cruel to let you continue this. My heart sunk, but I knew that I was done. I was cooked. So we turned around, pointed 260 back toward Addison. He punched in approach 124.3 and put it on autopilot. And I guess he figured I was kind of rattled. A little bit was. I was nervous. I was thinking, man, I got to call McKinney Tower. He's going to break it off in my ass. Then I'm going to get to go to the FSDO. I'd have to ask Brian Turner if I could borrow his reserved parking space and talk to him, explain to him why on my check ride I'm here, a failure, and I'm already at the FSDO. That was what was going through my mind. But Chris reassured me, says, no, you didn't bust your airspace. That's why I had you turn 120. I was watching. You didn't bust your airspace. We'll call him when we get back, and we'll get this arranged. We'll get this matter put to bed. So he asked me, so are you good? Can you make it back? Well, of course I can make it back to Addison. I landed there a whole bunch of times, whatever. I was a little bit rattled. I cotton mouth so bad I could barely speak. I was so dehydrated because I've been sweating gallons and gallons of water. So I get on approach, make my call, get my squawk code, get all that punched in. I keep autopilot on to reduce pilot fatigue. I wasn't on approach for very long. He rapidly handed me off to 126.0 Addison Tower, and so I called them, hey, Addison Tower, Skyhawk 722 Mike Alpha coming in for full stop. I'm with you at 2500. He cleared me in, direct the numbers. So came in, did my descent, his pilot discretion to do the descent, and came in and did a perfect landing. No concerns whatsoever about my landing. Beautiful, flaps 10 landing on top of that. Taxied back to Monarch, did my post flight, went inside, and just gritted my teeth, knowing that what am I gonna tell? And it was Nick. For those of you who know KTKI, it was ATC Nick at McKinney, and I've actually met him. I got a tower tour before all this COVID nonsense, and so he's a cool dude. And so we debriefed and then sat down, and Chris called up. I wrote the tower down on my kneeboard, Chris called it, and talked to Nick. He was still shuffling a few planes around, and as was expected, he broke it off in my ass. It was deserved. I don't fault ATC Nick at all. I screwed up. How many times? I mean, on my solos, all my comms work is usually A+. And my brain was overheated. I was a minute behind the airplane, and just like on your computer, when the CPU fan stops spinning due to a dust bunny or the bearings burn out, that CPU will go into failsafe to try and save itself and keep the magic black smoke inside. And it will just slow down. It will no longer be a 3.8 gigahertz CPU. It'll turn into a 1 gigahertz CPU. And if the heat continues to rise, it'll turn into a 600 megahertz CPU. And if it continues to rise, it'll either lock the whole system up, or it'll drop into a 200 megahertz CPU until it's reduced in frequency to the point it's no longer creating enough heat to cook itself. Anyway, so thank God, Chris did not actually have to step in and talk to Nick, but he was there. We were on speaker, and I apologized, told him what was going on, and my check ride, and so he after a well-deserved tongue lashing, he says he's going to clear it out because he'd had 2 other pilot deviations that day. So he was a little bit sick and tired of GA pilots not doing the right thing. So I could completely understand where he's from. So he gave me a kitchen pass on that deal. And ATC Nick, if you're watching this video, thank you. I really appreciate the second chance. I do. And you've worked me how many times in 190 Mike Echo and never had a problem. I've always been on my A game, and I was off. I was absolutely off. But next time we do my check ride again, it's going to be cooler. I will actually have my minimums on paper. If they are outside of range, outside of spec, my check ride will not happen. I will put it off. I will defer to another day when I can be on my A game and will not be being tossed around with winds, gusty winds. Now, if it's a straight line wind, 12 knot, just constant blowing 12 knots, that's one thing. But the gusty crap, that's a no-go. That just absolutely is a no-go. Trying to do maneuvers when it's gusting, and you're more worried about keeping a coordinated flight. Anyway, I want to give kudos and thanks to Chris Webb. He's a great DPE. I look forward to riding with him again in the airplane and having a proper opportunity to demonstrate what I have learned from Jeff Wallach at Monarch Air. I can do this if I don't F up, which is usually Wallach's parting words. Have a good time, be safe, don't fuck up. Great advice, Jeff. I love you, man. All 5 feet of you. Sorry, had to take a swipe. Anyway, that's all I got for now. That's what happened. I'm going to put these 2 videos together, and so you have my debrief of how I screwed my first check, or I screwed 50% of my first check ride. That's what happened. That's what we're going with. We'll do it right on the second go around. Stay tuned.